A fresh dose of tech news and insight. This is breaking news on Eagle Eyes on Tech. 4chan is back. It is Saturday, April 26, 2025. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. I'm not gonna lie, I never thought I'd be making a Saturday breaking news episode. Ever since we let the early bird briefing just kind of go to the wayside for my own sanity, never thought I'd be doing one on the weekend. But for something like this, I feel it is important to address, especially since the last time we talked about 4chan, I speculated that we'd never see them again. That's it. They're done. The end. So, first up, 4chan actually did make an update earlier in the week. I felt it unnecessary because it was literally just changing the website to a black screen with white text that said "see you soon." Not a whole lot to really go off there other than, oh, okay, they're not going to let 4chan die. And, you know, that was a legitimate question because, you know, we don't know a whole lot about the people who currently run 4chan other than the fact that, you know, they are some of the people who originally developed the first kind of image boards that 4chan is modeled off of. And, you know, for the most part, from what we saw on the front end, not a whole lot of updates has ever happened to 4chan. There have been more of a leave it as much as possible. Well, we have a big blog post from, well, the owners, and they do go into a lot of detail as to what happened. So let's actually go through the blog post still standing. On the afternoon of April 14th, a hacker using a UK IP address exploited an out-of-date software package on one of 4chan's servers via a bogus PDF upload. This we already knew. With this entry point, they were eventually able to gain access to one of 4chan's servers, including database access and access to our own administrative dashboard. The hacker spent several hours exfiltrating database tables and much of 4chan's source code. When they had finished downloading what they wanted, they began to vandalize 4chan, at which point the moderators became aware and 4chan servers were halted, preventing further access. Let me interject. So it actually wasn't even the hackers who brought down the servers. It was, in fact, an emergency stop button pushed by 4chan themselves. Honestly, it could have gone either way as to what the heck was going on there. But now we know it was 4chan that hit an emergency stop. It continues. Over the following days, 4chan's development team surveyed the damage, which, to be frank, was catastrophic. While not all of our servers were breached, the most important one was, and it was due to simply not updating old operating systems and source code in a timely fashion. Ultimately, this problem was caused by having insufficient skilled man hours available to update our code and infrastructure, and being starved of money for years by advertisement and payment processors and service providers who had succumbed to external pressure campaigns. Let me interject. So 4chan is well known for just kind of, I mean, realistically, 4chan has a lot of boards. All right. When you go to 4chan, there is a long list of various boards and what people go there for. But realistically, as far as like problem boards, you can narrow all the problems down to like 5. And I'm only saying 5 because the two obvious answers are random and poll or politically incorrect. And then you could start arguing about some other ones, just like, oh, there's a lot of nonsense that goes on here. Oh, this one happened. And yeah. R9K being kind of one of the ones that's debatable how bad it is. Well, otherwise, you got all the other ones that are just people being dumb or just people talking about what they want to talk about. For the most part, 4chan never really poses a big threat to most people. They're just idiots being idiots. That's all 4chan usually ever is. But of course, you get fear mongering. You get people going, oh man, 4chan's just a whole bunch of horrible political activists trying to go ahead and push this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, there's a small wing of that, but in the grand scheme of things, they're just there. There's the occasional 4chan raid. There's the occasional 4chan went ahead and absolutely ruined a corporate poll. There's all those sorts of stuff. Those happen. Lord knows Reddit also does that sort of thing at all, but 4chan has a long history of success TM in this style of nonsense. So, yeah. That is just kind of one of the things that exists. So to see a lot of other people who just fear the 4chan and a bunch of idiots doing idiot things, yeah, it's not too surprising to see a far more strict advertiser ban trying to be pushed than you'd see on, like, say, Twitter, for instance. So yeah, that's not too surprising. It's also why a lot of 4chan's staff is unpaid and volunteer. They simply can't afford it. The blog post continues. We have begun the process of speccing new servers in late 2003. Let me interject. All right, you know what? No, let me continue. All right. We have begun the process of speccing new servers in late 2003. As may have expected, until that time, 4chan had been running on a set of servers purchased secondhand by Moot a few weeks before his final Q&A, as prior to then we simply were not in a financial position to consider such a large purchase. Advertisers and payment providers willing to work with 4chan are rare and are quickly pressured by activists into canceling their services. Putting together the money for new equipment took nearly a decade. That's wild. That took that long. And quite frankly, some of the pictures I've seen going around of the servers, which I have no idea if they're legit or not, the servers that Moot had were like roughly 2006, which he probably also bought on the used market. I mean, I'll just tell you this right now. Servers on the used market are infinitely cheaper than on the new market. You can actually get a decent web service going on used servers, and that's most likely what they ended up doing. What would cost tens of thousands of dollars new, you can acquire for $300, $400, $500. No joke. In fact, the video editing server that I run and stores all the footage for this podcast, does all the editing for this podcast, and does all the clip management for my streams, and eventually some of the YouTube stuff I plan on working on. That server I call NeoRemder, is $250 with about another $120 of solid state drive shoved into it, and about another $70 worth of GPU shoved into it. So all in all, and No, we also bought RAM. That was about another $40. So a little over $400 we ended up spending on that. Compare that to when that server was new, and a configuration like it is right now probably cost upwards of $16,000. Yeah, it's crazy. Granted, that server is 10 years old, but it does what I need it to do, and it does it really well. The blog post continues. In April of 2024, we had agreed on specs and began looking for possible suppliers. Money was always tight for us. A few companies were willing to sell us servers, so actually buying the hardware wasn't a trivial problem. We managed to finalize the purchase in June and had new servers racked and online in July. Over the next few months, we slowly moved functionality to the new servers, but we had still been relying on the old servers for key functions. Everything about this process took much longer than intended, which is a reoccurring theme in this debacle. The free time that 4chan's development team had available to dedicate to 4chan was insufficient to update our software and infrastructure fast enough, and our luck ran out. Let me interject. This again goes back to the whole thing they talked about earlier about them just not being able to make a whole lot of money just because advertising and whatnot willing to work with them is so rare because of public peer pressure. Everyone is unpaid. You can only dedicate what you have free. This is all a passion project that has been going on for 20 plus years. It continues. However, we have not been idle during our nearly 2 weeks of downtime. The server that was breached has been replaced, with the operating system and code updated to the latest versions. PDF uploads have been temporarily disabled on those boards that supported them, but they will be back in the near future. One slow but much beloved board, F, will not be returning, as there is no realistic way to prevent similar exploits using Shockwave files. We are bringing on additional volunteer developers to help keep up with the workload, and our team of volunteer janitors and moderators remain united despite the grievous violations some have suffered to their personal privacy. 4chan is back. No other website can replace it or this community. No matter how hard it is, we are not giving up. That was posted 12 hours ago at the time of recording this podcast, and this podcast should be up within the hour of me recording it. I'm not gonna lie, it is reassuring as someone who, I do visit 4chan from time to time just to check out how things were. I was a very, very early poster and user of the F board, the Flash board, way back in the day when Flash video was all the craze. Unfortunately, to see F go, I'm shocked, but not surprised. I mean, Flash has been killed for a long, long time. I still have SWF files stored on my backup server. I lack the ability to play them anymore, however, which is, kind of unfortunate. But it just, again, I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. But it is what it is. So 4chan is back. And what yet one more method of viewing Flash files is gone. I guess it just is what it is, but you know what? Considering what they just had done to them, it's not too surprising. Although apparently on 4chan you can't post anything, which is whoops. Are they really back then? Are they really back? I mean, it most likely is just because they're in the middle of moving everything to these new servers, as they said they're doing. So in any case, if you were the ones rooting for 4chan's demise, nope, it's still around. It, by the sound of it, it's going to be around for a long time. And you know, when the owners, considering that before the owners of 4chan, you weren't sure if they were going to stick around, this is a good sign that yes, they are going to stick around. That's going to do it for me. Get out there and conquer the day.